My name is Christy Harst, and I'm based in Cleveland, Ohio. I am a voiceover actor, and I most commonly get hired for commercials, explainers, corporate narration, and e-learning. When I was 12, I saw Barbara Walters on TV on 2020. And I said, that's going to be me. I'm going to do that. You just watch. And so I went to college and I majored in broadcast communications, and I actually started working at the radio station there. And I started doing internships at local TV stations. And I realized that TV wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do, but I wanted to do something with performance, and I knew I had a good voice. So my first internship in college was at a classical radio station. And during the interview, the guy says to me, the owner of the station, he goes, "You have a good voice, come with me." And he takes me to the recording studio and he has me say something like the Pledge of Allegiance, like just something random. And he goes, "You could do voiceovers." And I said, "What are voiceovers?" I had no idea, right? I had no idea this whole new world. And actually through that internship, I did my first voiceover ever, which was a tag at the end of a commercial. And back then, technology was different. I'm dating myself. But my parents had to drive 45 minutes one way in the car until they could turn the knobs and hear me on the end of the spot. So that's what kind of turned me onto it. And ever since then, it's always been something I wanted to do. I did it as a hobby for a while, and then it started to become full blown. So I decided to start my own voiceover small business. So for 7 years prior to obtaining the Studiobricks, I had a studio in my basement. It was a makeshift studio. It was moving blankets on all four sides, and it was connected by PVC piping. And, it served my purposes pretty well. I recorded a national campaign down there. There weren't complaints about my sound. I would say that the biggest issue is I have 2 young children. And when the pandemic happened, every issue that I had recording on there was multiplied. So typically when I would record, my kids were used to the fact that I would jack them up with like candy and iPads, and you can't move, you have to be on the couch, you can't watch, you can't talk, don't do anything. But then when the pandemic hit and they ended up staying home to do remote learning, that was no longer an option. Like there's not enough candy in the world to keep them quiet, for that long. So my husband and I were talking about solutions to this problem, and I had seen other people in my industry get the Studiobricks. So we started researching, and I started to email one of your sales reps and started to learn more about the product. And I have to say that since we've got this in the house, it's made a huge difference. Yeah, I had watched videos of my colleagues. They would post on their social pages like, "I'm so excited, I got a Studiobricks." And I'm like, "What's a Studiobricks? What's this?" And, my husband and I called it adult Legos. Like they're just adult Legos that you build a sound studio with. And I watched Joe Cipriano, who's a pretty well-known guy in our industry. He does a lot of promo work. You probably hear him 10 times a day and don't even realize it. But when he got one, I was like, wow, well, Joe's getting one, then these things must be pretty legit. And when the pandemic happened, I noticed that you guys were running a sale for voiceovers during the pandemic for voiceover people. And that was kind of like, well, it's a no-brainer now. I should really do it. Actually, no, I don't even know of any competitors of Studiobricks. I mean, I don't know anybody that does what you guys do and the way you do. Now, I've heard of whisper rooms. I've heard of these like to-go booths, like these booths to go or something, but they don't even compare to yours. Like it's a totally different system. So for me, this was the only option. It's one thing to look at a Studiobricks on your computer, to watch somebody else in their environment put it together or record in it. But when you have one in your house and you stand back and you look at it, you're like, oh, whoa, this is all kinds of fancy. occupancy. Like for a while I was like, this isn't mine. No, I need to go back to the basement. Like I need to go back to the dungeon. This isn't mine. This is too nice. And it's funny because when I walk into it, I've had it for about a month now. When I walk into it, actually when anyone walks into it, my mom, my dad, my kids, my husband, my sister-in-law, it smells like a new car. I'm like, yeah, I know, it has the new car smell. I love it. And I will say as a bonus, you know, when I go in there and I shut the door, and I didn't realize this, but the door handle, when you push it up, it like vacuum seals you in. And I didn't know that. I love that part. I love to hear the vacuum part. And what's even better is that it's really addressing the challenges that we had, which is my kids can now walk around the house. They can talk normally. The TV can be at a normal volume, and life is not inhibited for the rest of my family. And I think that's probably the most important thing. My husband, I joke with my husband all the time, like, if you can't find me, I'm in there with an adult beverage. That's where you're going to find me. And sometimes I do have to go record, and I'll be like, all right, I have to go record. Just, you know, don't jump, don't yell, and everything will be fine. And then I find myself being done with my work a little faster than what I normally would. And then I just end up staying in there for quite some time by myself. And my dog loves to sleep in there with me when I record. He sleeps at my feet. He loves it. So honestly, Studiobricks has been an amazing investment for me, for my business. It validates me as a professional. People know that when they hire me, they're going to get quality sound. There's no doubt about it. And it's helped my family life and me working at home. It's really just been a great addition to our day-to-day lives here at home, and especially for me, for my business. I would say that you should seriously investigate and research what would work best for you in your space. For us, this might not be our forever home. And so to invest a ton of money in building out a studio in our basement really didn't make much sense. Because if we moved, that's a total waste of money. I have to do it all over again in another home. If you have an apartment, if you have a smaller sized home, you know, and you don't necessarily have the ability to build out a studio, I highly recommend researching a Studiobricks, seeing if it meets your needs, seeing if the size works for your space, because the sound quality is there. There's no question. When you have one of these in your house and you record, the sound quality is amazing. I think my noise floor is -66. There's no doubt that you are going to have amazing sound. So if you can save money, if you can pay attention to any sales or deals going on, I would start researching it now, saving, and make it a part of your business goal for the year, for 2021 or 2022, because it's 100% worth it. And because they're adult Legos, you can take them down and go to your next place, right? Your next apartment, your next house, wherever. It'll be with you forever. It's a one-time investment in awesome quality sound and reassurance that when you go in there, you're going to sound amazing, no matter what. I totally agree. We all need some good news. We all need to feel better, like just concentrate on something positive. So I have two things to share. Okay. Number one, we're getting a new puppy. It's a sheepadoodle, and I'm getting her at the end of April, and her name is Consuelo. I'm so excited. We can't wait. And then the second thing I'd like to share is a little bit of a brag on my part. I am currently recording a national campaign for TV, radio, streaming, and online. I am the first female ever to voice for John Deere. Yeah, I'm super excited. Thank you. It's quite an honor to voice for such an iconic brand, but then to be the first female to ever do it is pretty darn cool. Pretty exciting.